was on this road and no four walls could bear the load of this tail slapping on them posts, so I'm docking locked away.
This one right here, guys. So on Truck Talks, we usually have testimonies and opportunities, but I just want to introduce you to somebody that has a phenomenal soul, Mr. Jared Daws.
Thank you for having me.
And Mr. Jared Daws is the lead, the front man, the head honcho.
Some will say.
So the guy, the face of it all. Tell me about your band.
So it's me, Jared Daws and the Dusk Singers. Named my band after a Mississippi cicada because the brood came out. You know, cicadas, they stay dormant for like years and years and years, and last year was the year that they came out. And so I knew, I have to name it after something that is emerging, and I wanted it to be involving the state that I'm in, and so it just came upon Dusk Singers, a type of Mississippi cicada.
And now, you said the state that you're in, so you're originally from?
Louisiana.
Okay, and so you're a Gulf South native.
Yeah.
And your heart and soul is literally stomping around this little curve from Florida all the way to Texas, or where's your stomping ground? Where's your music influence come from ultimately, I want to ask? I
would say anywhere, regionally, the Gulf Coast. I have tons of friends out here and play music, and I've drawn influence over the years. I grew up playing a lot of music in New Orleans and played music out here, Slidell, Covington, Baton Rouge.
Right.
Yeah, so probably we've played a few times in Texas, or I've played in Texas, Lake Charles, but yeah, just the southern Gulf Coast.
Man.
Anywhere that encapsulates that.
So, this man right here, he has a voice that's soulful and it's deep, and you know how whenever you have those moments, those soul ties to where you kind of find something that kind of wrenches your gut a little bit with a situation or a moment. Like most people have something like an epiphany or something like that. For me, I've had my moments, right? And I'm very faithful in the idea that God moves in my life very differently now because I'm aware finally, right? How's it been for your journey in music? And then, of course, you are a tattoo dude, so you can give us some insight on a bunch of things I'm seeing. But where did the influence of art start with you?
It definitely started in my family, which is weird to say because I don't know my family. I know my dad and my mom and my siblings, but some of my aunts and uncles, but I don't really know a lot of my family. My dad, I never really met his family. My grandma, I was told, was an artist. Okay. I met her a couple times, and she gave me $20 once as a kid, and I'll never forget that because that was the coolest thing Grandma could have ever done. So we're good, in my book.
Slap the table, 20 G. Yeah, we're good.
I remember that. It was $20 for Easter. I'll never forget that. And a heavenly hash bar. I'll never forget
heavenly hash bar.
Yeah. And but yeah, I was told that she was an artist, and so I guess I got that from her. And then my dad's a musician, which I'm assuming that art just kind of trickled down in a different way for him. And so it just came from my dad listening to music growing up, just being influenced by music. My Uncle Mike, he was old Tennessee dude, Nashville, and was into the Outlaws of country music and things like that.
So the Whalens and stuff like that. Yeah. It's amazing.
My uncle's nickname was Willie because he just used to smoke weed all day.
That's what's up, right? I have a funny saying that whenever I see some of these electric bills, because I'm still in the real estate industry, but whenever I see some of these electric bills come across that people are kind of claiming what they do monthly on bills, I'm like, man, some of their stuff's as high as Willie Nelson.
Yeah. My Uncle Mike got a cat, which I would like to say this isn't on purpose, but I don't know. Uncle Mike was who he was.
Yeah.
He got one of our cats so high it fell out the window. He used to hang around with this. We had a cat named Garfield, a big fat orange cat, of course. But Garfield kind of nodding. He was fighting for his life. Fell out the window.
Dude, if you don't believe, I have to tell you so much now because if you don't believe our stories were meant to be intertwined. So growing up, my parents, whenever they were kind of coming to fruition of their relationship, Garfield was like a staple of conversation. Like my mom liked Garfield, right? So that's funny. And then we talk about Mississippi. I'm drawn to Mississippi. My wife's from Mississippi.
Oh, wow,
and whenever I was in 4th grade, I had this little project, right? And in that little project, I was sitting there, and my state was the state of Mississippi.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I learned more about Mississippi at 4th grade than I knew about Texas at the time. Because I'm from Houston, right? Fast forward, I always said, I'm going to marry somebody, blonde hair, blue eye, from Mississippi.
Wow.
In my heart, it was just kind of planted in the 4th grade. we're at a Hardee's in Mississippi right now talking about music. You said Garfield. I'm telling you, man, whenever stories are intertwined, it's crazy.
Yeah,
right?
It is.
So what's the story with the new music that's coming out? You said you and the band are kind of coming to fruition, if you will, or coming out of a dormant phase.
Yeah. So we started up. So it's all started with me. It was, I think, October 2022 now, maybe the lines. I can't remember, but it was October, and I did this by myself for a year.
Okay.
And then it all started kind of coming together because I realized, I was playing shows, and we'd have like over 100 people just come to show up for me and a guitar locally, like at a place that isn't even a venue. It's just a restaurant. And I was like, hey, I'm going to show up here and play music. And people would just go. They would show up. And so I realized like I needed to start building this to the next level. And so Katie, who's my piano player and also sings as well, she's my childhood. It's wild how it kind of came together because one of my childhood best friends is a guy named Dylan Langenstein. And so Dylan ended up marrying this girl, Katie, who I then didn't know, and became friends and was one of the groomsmen in the wedding. And me and Katie ended up becoming real close, like how me and Dylan are. And Katie's a musician, and she played piano and sang. And I was just like, look, like I really want you to play music with me. And so it ended up just working out that she joined. And so for a little while we were just playing places, me and her together.
That's cool.
Just doing what we could. And then more traction started building, and people were reaching out to me. They're like, dude, you need to get a full band together so you can come play some of these places that have bands and stuff like that. And so I play guitar, and so all the guitars that I've had since being here I bring to this guy named John Wolverton. And John Wolverton, he's the owner of Wolvertone Guitar Works, and so he's builds guitars, works on them, things like that. And so I was bringing my guitar to him, and I saw this kid walk through the house, and I was just like, who is that? And he was like, that's my son. And I was like, I didn't know you had a son. I knew he had a daughter because I actually tattooed his daughter.
Okay.
And so I was like, I didn't know you had a son. And he goes, yeah, he plays drums. And I was like, really? And so I started
coming together.
Like a fly, bro.
It's coming together.
I was like, what's he do? What's he doing that? He's like, oh, he's just chill, plays drums, does his work and whatever. And I was like, all right, well, I was like, I want his number so I can talk to him about it. And so we actually went and sat down at a restaurant, and I was like, tell me about you. So I feel like when I'm picking people for a band, which maybe everyone does, but like I got to interview you. I got to make sure that you're the way that you do music and the way that I do music will at least work together,
right? Like it's got to have a foundational chemistry to where the vibe is there. Otherwise, you're gonna have conflicting energy all the time.
And so we ended up started practicing. We practiced at Outer Banks Axe House here in Pickey. My friends Colin and Crystal let us use their business while it was closed.
So that was during no, that wasn't during COVID.
No, it was just during their closed business hours.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they just let us go practice. I literally have a key on my key ring right now to their business. It's this key. It's
like crazy blessings,
this key right here, Outer Banks Axe House. And so they gave it to me, and they're like, look, come in and out as you need to. Like, bring the band here and practice. Because drums are loud.
Yeah.
So we practiced there. We started doing it. So then we were a trio. We went solo, duo, trio.
Okay.
And then we played a few gigs as a trio. And I was on the radio station in Covington. And I was talking to my friends. I was like, man, I really, really, really want a fiddle player. Like, I have a song that's coming out right now, and it has just an incredible fiddle on it that was actually written by Preston Waite, who he plays fiddle for Brothers Osborne.
Oh, wow.
And so he wrote it, and I was like, I have to have somebody who can play this. Like, this song it's not going to sound right without fiddle. And like, fiddle's just like perfect country band compliment, of course, classic. And they were like, we know a guy who plays fiddle. And so
it's still coming together.
So at this point I was like, okay, cool. Like, we'll send you his number. And so I talked to him, and he lives over in Covington, so he drives an hour every single Monday to come out here and practice. And he's been practicing with us for a long time, and he's like he might be my favorite part of the band, musically for sure. I know that hurts to say, but like even more so than myself. Like he is like my favorite part because he's just
a heartbeat of the band.
He
that's
plays
something different.
He plays like every instrument. His name's Parker Freeman, and he plays like every instrument. And just like he's a singer-songwriter himself. He sings great, and it's just it all came together. And
Man,
it's been us four, and we've been rocking.
Cool.
Dude.
Like, that's a cool story. Like,
It is.
it's funny how, and I was talking to you about this earlier, how your life will throw little messages, and you're just not really in tune with them until your timing hits the wall almost. And I know for me, it came down to hitting my knees and saying, all right, I'm done being Jesse. Whatever I need to do, right? Have you had those epiphany moments, man, to where something shifted in your life and your heart shifted and you went from being, I would say, less Jared and more in line with your faith? I mean, is there something going now that's moving you differently in your life?
I would say it kind of like what, I was saying a little bit of earlier. It's mostly been learning that I'm not invincible. It's just like growing up, I saw a lot of terrible things happen to people, and I was just like, it's not going to be me. I don't know why I always felt like that, but I always just felt like, these bad things happen to people. Like I'd see like someone's family member might end up getting sick, and I was always really healthy, and so I was like, that's just not going to be me. My family doesn't have a whole lot of health issues. Only thing we have really is like high blood pressure. There's no real problems, and so I was like, it'll never be me. And I ended up a couple years ago getting diagnosed with visual snow syndrome, which is a neurological condition. And when things start messing with your brain, they start messing with everything.
Yes.
And so like every day, like I feel dizzy, I feel just different things that happen. It's a whole slum of stuff that goes on with that. And that really kind of changed my perspective into realizing like, hey, like I never thought I was better than anyone ever.
Right.
Like it was never that. It was just I was always really healthy, so I assumed I would always stay very healthy.
You didn't have the thing that most people have, like, oh, I know my parents have this, so
right.
I'm going to fall into that. I just need to be aware of it, right? Yeah. So for you, it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to pause. What the humbling moments, right?
Yeah, it was, and it humbled me completely. And then, I realized that, I don't know, it was a big change for me. And I don't know why that would have done this, but I'm very more so involved like in the community and stuff now, because I want to try and give back to people, because I realize now that there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that affect day-to-day life. Like I grew up very poor. My family's not rich at all. And so I always knew like money issues were a thing, but I never had the insight of like, wow, I can't go out and do this because I'm not healthy enough to do it. Because I didn't drive for several months. Like I couldn't even drive when I first started coming on, and dealing with like the anxiety and the depression just from it, because my whole life was flipped on its head. And it's still hard. 2 years, like sometimes my symptoms, because anything that affects your brain affects what I have.
Yes.
So that's your diet, that's your sleep, that's your mood, that's literally everything. So some days it's beyond worse than it's ever been. Then I might go 2 weeks and not even realize that I have it. And so it's like I fight with it almost every day. And I never had that insight of thinking like, wow, like
tomorrow's not promised.
Yeah. And it's, I try and I'm able to feel for these people now that just aren't healthy to do certain things. And, I always thought like, oh, your health problems, like sometimes they come on to you. Sometimes it's just self-inflicted for whatever it may be, but like it doesn't matter. Like we're all human beings at the end of the day, and it's just like I know now that these kind of things can really change your life.
Dude, your message that you just spoke is beautiful, right? It's a testimony to the fact that we do go further together. Like we're meant to be with people, right? And then whenever you cultivate their needs over your own, you start to find something that, like your spirit inside. I always mess with my son and I always tell him, whenever you do things for you, you find that you can achieve them. And you can even write self-help books about it. And you can talk to other people about how successful you are. But in the wake of your growth, what's that look like? Like whenever you're moving forward, are you bringing the people with you, or are you using them as collateral damage as you continue to press?
Yeah.
And there's something to be said about character of a human being. I'm not talking about man, woman, the human being. For you to see that and be humbled and then step forward into a place of grace and show people that there is something more. Yeah. And you use like this gift that you have, guys. whenever I say this dude can sing, like this dude can sing, man. And it's not just me gaslighting you. Like you literally sing from a place that you can hear something different. And I will say it's pretty amazing to hear your epiphany, because a lot of people will see the light, if you will, and they'll just keep on running like, all right, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
It's cool that you found something inside of a little bit of a whirlwind of chaos
to
find that peace.
Yeah, it was wild, dude. Like, I literally sat in my bed basically for 3 months. And so it was just like, it took me almost a month to get back to work, but it was literally like 3 months before I was able to try and even begin refunctioning as a person. And it was just, dude, it was the hardest moment for me.
So not to get too deep into your medical stuff, but this condition that you have literally put your physical self out of play to where all you had was your mental self.
That's it, yeah.
So it literally divided you.
It absolutely split me. Like, I felt like I just wasn't even who I was anymore. All I had was my thoughts.
And that's a scary thing.
It's absolutely scary.
That right there, that will slam a man into reality real quick whenever all you have are your thoughts.
Yes.
Because at that point, I know for me, in my situations and in the things that I've been through, in those moments of where all you have is a thought, that's whenever I learned that my faith was the thing that I was talking to all the time. Whenever I look back, I was always like, hold on, in the worst times, all of a sudden I was praying like, oh God, right? But for me, it's been so fruitful, like your journey, to give back to other people in the realm of just conversation, or in the realm of, I don't know what I can do for you, but I know somebody. Like, you're getting connections through the industry, and you may not know, like they did to you, the fiddler. You know what I mean? Like, here you go, here's a handoff. And that's amazing to hear too. But I gotta ask, because you're an artistic dude and you got tattoos everywhere. What's the story? Like, this doesn't just happen like, oh, I wake up and I want to look the part. This is something that has happened over life too.
Yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, I started when I was 18, so it's been almost 13 years now. And the big piece everyone always comes to is this one for sure. It's just like right there, it's my brother. And so I kind of told you a little bit about it, but when I was 9, I watched my brother die in front of me. And so he lived that, he walked that line, man. He lived that life. And for the people who don't know that hard life, that street life of growing up that way, it's ugly. And, thankfully my parents did their best to keep me out of it, and I stayed away. And I think staying away came from losing my brother, because I realized right then and there that, the stupid things me and my friends would go out and do, and all this kind of stuff. Like, we were having fun, but there was a real ugly side that was waiting around the corner of venturing off too far into it. We played around a lot with the idea of being thuggish and whatever you want to call it, dude. And it's just like that this guy was the real deal, and I watched it growing up, and I've seen it, through him going to jail and things like that, in and out. And when I lost him, it kind of changed everything for me. I realized that life is short, for one. And it was weird that even after that, I guess it was, as a kid, I was kind of still jaded to the fact that, I don't know, you go through life, and because I wasn't doing drugs, I lost my brother to that. And so I was like, that's not going to happen to me, So I always felt like that feeling of, like I said, like healthiness. I wasn't worried because I wasn't walking that line. Because you didn't have that. But, things have changed, and I've realized that now. And, it's been a huge moment for me. So I got this all for him, because when he got out of jail and he was clean for a while, and he had his son, my nephew Jaden, he was real into like this, like, I don't know how to explain it, like this, he was definitely more like spiritual. And so, it's just kind of an amalgamation of things that he's talked to about me. And there's more up here, but this jacket's a little too tight.
Yeah, I got you, dude. But it's amazing, even if whatever, and I always talk about this, like I'm authoring a book, right? So, and one of the foundational parts of it is, it doesn't matter where your faith lies, whether it's with monotheism, whether it's Buddhism, whatever your faith is, having something to call to a higher power, and then having other people in your circle, your vibe and your tribe, right? I believe that that's the essence of being a human, that to the best of your abilities, right? And something that I'm learning in my season now, because, you know, we go through our seasons of life, but something I'm learning right now is we're not promised tomorrow.
Yeah.
And with failing health of family members that I'm currently like working through, again, my background was in the medical field. I told you, you know, I was a doc in the Navy. Well, that kind of stuff kind of set the stage for things that we're going through today. And I realize now that if I would have been paying a little bit more attention to not just being a good person, but being the best version that I could be during that day and that moment and that time, like give everybody, like you say, give them 100, man. Like as much as I can give you in this moment, I'm going to give it to you. I was shortchanging people because I was looking for things to fulfill me. And in that selfishness, I realized like the growth curve is happening, because now I'm just like, whatever you need, I will take care of as much as I can. You know, and that changed the dynamic and it flipped the script. And even in my household, it's been amazing. Yeah. You know?
Wow.
So it's one of those things that I can hear in your story too. Like it's just amazing to sit and hear this whenever I'm going through my season. It's kind of like, okay, I hear you, you know? But for me, that's amazing whenever it's played out in explanation. You know what I mean? And that's a story that's beautiful too, man. And so you've been tattooing since you were how old?
19. Yeah, I went to college. I was initially in college for biology degree, concentration in ecology, and then I switched to zoology. And then I realized, like, I want to be a tattoo artist. I don't want to go to school no more. And so I threw away a full ride. And Mom was not super stoked on that, because I think only one, two, maybe three people in my family have ever completed college. No one, my family's not a college family.
Neither are mine.
And so the only person that I can 100% say in my family that has completed college is my sister. One of my sisters. I'm one of 8. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I have 4 older brothers, 2 older sisters, 1 younger sister.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
One of 8.
Yeah. And so, yeah, you know, I went through school and I was a straight A student. And so I was kind of like most likely to succeed, best of this, best of that. You know, I got awards for all these things. Yeah. And then
I only laugh because you had this smirk like you're about to unveil some fun stuff here. I'm waiting.
Dude. And it was just like, I remember the turning moment for me in college. I was sitting in class and I was sitting in biology, and I got a text on my phone I was working at Sicily's Pizza in Covington, and I got a text on my phone that was like, hey, do you want to pick up a shift? And I was like, I want money, bro. I don't want this education. And I left. And so I left out of biology, and I went to Covington, and I went and worked, and I was just like, I really don't enjoy school. I did good in school because my
it's the expected norm.
It was expected norm, and my parents were like, look, my mom and dad were so cool growing up. They're still my best friends. I literally ate dinner with them last night. They drove out here, and you know, my dad's very involved in my music, and so they're my best friends. And so I was just like, I don't want to do this no more. I can't do it. And I remember I put a bunch of drawings in a book, and I went to a tattoo shop, and I was just like, this is what I do. And they gave me an apprenticeship, and so that kind of launched everything, and tens of thousands of dollars of college career just thrown out the window.
But was it?
No.
I don't think you would have found yourself personally.
No, because right now I'd probably be like in a lab or whatever else, which cool. I'm into that. I'm still very much so into biology. That was my big thing in school. Like I graduated school with a 106 in biology, higher than 100, because I brought in like Kleenexes for. So you just wanted I wanted my report card to say higher than 100. Yeah. And so it was just, I did good, and so it was kind of expected of me, and I became a black sheep real fast. Because I remember now what I was saying. Growing up, my mom was always like, "Look, if you bring home straight A's, I will basically never be on your case about going to do anything. I will trust that your mind is in the right place,
So give you the choice.
Yeah, and so like I had free will pretty much as a kid. I go hang out with my friends. I go do whatever I wanted to do because my mom was like, if you're keeping your grades good, like I know that you're not on the path that your brother was on. Basically, that's what she was saying in so many words.
And your whole family safeguarded the idea from what your brother had experienced, so you didn't, right?
Yeah, yeah, and they, you know, my mom really, it was really my mom. My mom like really tried to push, you know, a surrounding that wouldn't allow me to go in that direction.
And that's what us as parents, like parents always end up doing it, right?
Yeah. However, unfortunately, my friends, I was still very good at being good at school, but my friends were very good at being trying to be who my brother was.
Yeah.
Not directly my brother, but that type of person.
Yeah.
And so I seen and experienced and went along with a lot of things, though I never touched a drug in my life. I've been sober my whole life. But
that's amazing, dude.
I've been in the same room. I've literally had one of my friends pull out. Can I say stuff like this?
You can say
okay,
it.
all right.
No,
I just didn't know. I had one of my friends pull like heroin out of a sock. And we were 14 maybe. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that because in my world growing up, drugs were around it, right? Yeah. Growing up, and then I joined the military, and in that military sector, and in that whole lifespan, it's a different environment. Mm-hmm. And then I get out of the military, and I'm back to, I call it civilian land, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
So the rails are off, and I was telling you about that. Like the military had these guide rails, and it keeps you in service ultimately.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't stop you from being who you are.
Yeah.
Right? And it isn't until you become that better human being that you really start to flourish. Well, I can look back on my timeline and see that, like you said, like influential things were happening in my, like bebopping around in my timeline. And I just didn't know how to read them, hear them, or actually manage any of it until you get to like older people years is what I call them. You're like, you start to sit back and you're like, oh man. And you have that moment. Yeah. And a lot of times it's usually like in the middle of the most random times. Yeah. Like, am I wrong? Like,
no, it's true.
For me, it was kind of like really random, sitting there cutting a watermelon the other day, and I was like, huh. And I smirked, and it's kind of like a little inside joke that, like for me, my prayers are slowly but surely feeling different because of the way I'm living. Like, my heart is different.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to hear, like, how your timeline of, okay, you've had painful moments.
Yeah. But
you've stuck and steadied the course. Yeah, you've had we call them the rocky hits, right? How hard can you get hit and get mm-hmm. back up, right? And it sounds like you just keep on coming.
Yeah.
Like, you need to write a song called Choo Choo and how you just keep moving. That train just keeps on running.
I kind of sort of have a song I have a song called Runaway Train.
You see, man?
And it's literally about that. Like, the lines in the song basically talk about, it's like you put in hard work, but you gotta keep going. That's what it's about. It's about getting away from the lifestyle of me. Like, I was going to Sicily's and working and throwing all this time and stuff away, when in reality it was just like I've needed to be an artist and be who I am now all them years ago, but I wasn't
ready.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah, so
I wasn't who I thought I was, that's for sure.
So if you would have been, we'll say, given an opportunity as an artist, legit, like, hey, I heard you can play some music, mm-hmm. and then boom, do you think you would have been able to lay out what you can now?
No.
Right?
No.
Because you hadn't gone through the adversity of what you went through.
I know I wouldn't have been.
Yeah, you wouldn't have realized that tomorrow's not promised, because you'd have been living like Superman still. Yeah. And guess what? Sicily's paid the bills, so it was okay. Yeah. Hindsight 2020, but Sicily's really doesn't pay much.
No, not at all. Not at all. Definitely not enough to drop out of college. But
so, any aspirations on pursuing that on the back end?
What do you mean,
like going back to college to close that loop, or is that something that you're okay with leaving open-ended?
I don't know. I've thought about that. Like, it would be cool just to be like, hey, look, I finally did go back and complete it, but not right now. It's definitely not in my mind. There's like so much other stuff going on. But one day I would like to, just to do it.
Yeah, just to close that loop, right?
Just to be like, I went and did it.
You seem like the type that's like, all right, I finished what I started.
Yeah. Yeah, I typically am, and that it's funny you say that, because like I've talked about like to my friends that I was working in the barbershop out here and stuff, and mm-hmm. so that I was like, maybe one day I'm gonna go back and like complete my degree. I don't even want to stop tattooing. I don't even want to stop cutting hair. I just want to be like, look, I'm done. I finished it. I did it. So.
Yeah. And then, realistically, having that achievement in your background gives you the opportunity, and I talk about this all the time. I tell my son this, I tell a lot of people this, the compounding skill effect. It has nothing to do with achieving the certificate or getting the paper. Mm-hmm. It's about the opportunity to meet the right people in your life. Like, that's how I look at things differently now, is like, all right, man, if I go back to a college campus, you're going to find a baby Jared Daws sitting there doing the thing that you're like you literally painted out. You're just about maybe a couple of years ahead of him.
Yeah.
And if you were to sit in that same seat next to him and you watch him get the dang text, and you'd be like, oh, that's the moment.
Yeah.
What if I can give him a little insight? And like we said, go further together, right? So maybe our stories kind of walk together, but they're in different times, right?
Yeah.
And that thing right there had made me kind of stop a lot of, I say, bullshit that I was doing, right?
Yeah.
Because it was a lot of me being too much me.
I know that.
Getting in my own way, like just trying to selfishly see things for things that, because I wanted them to fit in the box. Not. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
You know?
Yeah, dude. It's being like, I was just thinking about something with college when you were saying like seeing somebody. I remember they gave us like, I don't know, like 500 prints a semester for, like, if we had to print out stuff from the library.
Okay.
So those 500 prints, I literally was in the library printing out flyers to my shows, like dude, coming out in like hundreds. And I was just like, I know exactly what I'm using this for, and I would just post them up on bulletin boards, hand them out, and stuff like that. That's like all I cared about. Like, it was just going to work, making money, and then music. And so that's why I was just like, I'm not using this place for the right. This is actually, and I'll tell you how I knew. So I went to Sicily's, I did the work, and I was like, man, I don't want to go back and do this. And so at Southeastern, where I went in Hammond, you had to do, back then, this was, I say back then like it was so long ago. I mean, it was almost 13 years ago now. Yeah. You had to do at least 3 hours a week in the math lab. That was required. And so you'd go on the computer and like do tests and all these kind of things. And I, as smart as I was coming out of school, straight A's, I failed college math with a 4, like 0.4, because I would go to math lab and I would just be doing research on my phone about other stuff. Yeah. I just went and logged my time, and then I realized, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm literally just sitting here wasting these people's time. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I was like, I'm done. And so I finished out that semester, and I was like, I'm not going back. And that's when my mom was just like, bruh. Bruh, really? Yeah. And I was like, yep, I'm not going back. Now they're super stoked about my life.
Because like, you're doing something that's passion in your heart.
Yeah, and it's taken me further than anything has ever taken me. And so
isn't it funny how whenever you do what you love, like, it doesn't feel like anything crazy. Like, it literally is energizing. Yeah. Like, I don't know how to explain that. I mean, for me, it's talking, right? You could probably figure that out because I don't mind talking, right? I used to be told, like, shut up, you talk too much. I'm like, well, eventually it's going to pay off. Once, you know? Yeah. It's only crazy to other people until it's not. Yeah. And I hope to plant that seed in your heart. Like, don't ever stop, man. Like, it's only crazy until it's not. And then whenever it's not, it's like, whoa, where have you been this whole time? Be like, I've been here the whole time. Yeah. Right? And that's how I feel, literally, bro, about my faith. It was only crazy until it wasn't. And then, oh, yeah, you've been here the whole time. Yeah. And it's been cool to understand that now, because I wouldn't have understood it 10, 15, 20, even last week, the right way, right?
Dude, so one of the things that got me started singing, actually, I told this story on Facebook the other day, and I don't even think that he knows this. I don't think I've ever told him that I credit him for this, because me and him we were good friends back then, but no reason. We just grew up, and we're not close anymore. We never speak. I haven't spoken to him in forever.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, but literally, like, if I saw him, I would say hey to him. Yeah. You know, nothing bad. But my friend Delaine's brother. So when I was a kid, I was like, and it sounds so funny to say this because I don't feel smart like this anymore. But when I was a kid, I was like a child genius, and I got recognized by this company called People to People, who do this thing where they like. They get student ambassadors, and you go to foreign countries, and you basically represent the United States. And so I went to England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales at 11 years old. I was in a blazer every single day.
No way,
Representing
dude.
the United States. Yeah, I met Parliament. I went to the Queen's birthday parade, Buckingham Palace, all that stuff. Went to Wales, all, yada, yada, yada. All
That
these
is
castles.
amazing,
It was
man.
insane. And when I was there, I was in a hotel in London. And I was laying on the bed, and I had a CD player, and it was playing Green Day. And I had my headphones on, and I was singing, and my friend, like, he was like, yo, take your headphones off and try singing. He's like, I feel like you sound good, like you can actually sing.
And this was at 11.
Yeah, if you can hear yourself. And so I took my headphones off and I sang the song, and he was like, dude, you can sing. And I was just like, really? I was like, I'd never thought anything of it. You know, I'd just been singing because my dad sang all the time. He was just
So it's
around
just
the house
a normal
singing.
thing.
You know, my dad all day long is drumming and singing, you know? And so that was just me. I was my dad's son.
Yeah.
You know, I am my dad's son. And so it's just, you know, I never really thought anything of it. And I came back home, and I remember so where Harry Potter was filmed, we went there.
Okay.
And obviously Hogwarts doesn't exist. You know, this is very much CGI.
Yeah.
However, they used the college to base some of the scenes around. And I don't know how familiar you are with Harry Potter, but there's a scene in the movie where they're like teaching them to ride the broomsticks, and they're like saying up, 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 trying to get the broomstick. Well, we stood in that courtyard, and so that college has a gift shop in it that's Harry Potter themed, of course. So I bought this Harry Potter journal, and I started writing band names in it. Literally, that same trip, while I was on that trip, I was like, if I can sing, I got to go home and start a band. I was 11.
This is at 11.
11 years old.
11.
So I started thinking,
That's amazing.
I was ripping off like Maroon 5 names. I was trying to think of a color and a number. Like I was like Green Day. I was writing who knows what, a color and like a day of the week. I was trying to figure out band names, and so like I just knew, I was like, dude, if I can do this, I've always been the person who's like, man, if I got this, I got to roll with it. Like I can turn this into something. Yeah. And I've always been able to. Like I tell people all the time, like I'm one of the most capable people I know. I'm not good at everything, but if there's something I'm good at, I can figure out a way to use it. And so immediately I was just like, I got to start working on this. And so I went home, and it was weird because at the time I was like, I didn't know how to play guitar. I only knew how to sing. And so the very next year, a kid moved into my neighborhood who played guitar and didn't sing. And we started like a little duo band together, and we went and played restaurants. And he's someone I call my brother, is this guy named Dustin Osborne. And so Delane's brother's Evan Roddick. He was the one in London who told me that. Came home, and Dustin, me and him started a band together. And then from there we played a couple years just like covering songs and stuff like that. And he decided he didn't want to do music anymore, and that was the reason why I picked up that guitar.
Because it forced you into it. Yeah.
I had to. At this point I was so invested that I had to learn to play guitar. And
So did that come naturally though?
what, guitar?
The guitar?
Not I worked on it. You know, I YouTubed a lot, and so I was really bad in the beginning, and I'm not great now, but but I'm a little less bad. I'm the best I've ever been.
There you go, Toby. I get you.
I'm as good once as I ever was.
Yeah.
As Toby Keith would
There
say.
you go, man. Because good old Toby. I remember seeing him actually in Africa, of all places.
Wow, that's awesome.
I've
Did he
seen
come
him-
play for like troops or something?
Yeah, so in the Horn of Africa, they call it Djibouti, Africa.
Djibouti? Oh,
Yeah,
sick.
yeah. So I remember him sitting on stage, and I'm sitting there, and I was with the Marine Corps element at that time, and a bunch of rowdy dudes just sitting there, and you know, we couldn't drink, we couldn't really party because we were on deployment type thing, but it was funny to see like his interaction with people is the most genuine person. I don't know if you ever met him.
No, never.
But he's very much like you, like down to earth, tell you like stories, shirt off your back, but he has this grandiose feeling about it. He's like, hey, and he has this big old tenor voice and the way he carries himself, right? So it's something about a persona, right? More than just that you can sing and string.
Yeah.
It's the persona, and you can hear your story through the way you carry yourself too, man. So that's amazing too. I don't even know if you realize it. No, it's just you being you, right? Exactly. And most people who are not trying to fake the front and try to be something else end up typically slamming home the home runs, typically from what I can tell, right?
No, I agree. We'll do it.
What is it that the next upcoming months to year feel like for you?
Busy. You know, we got I went to Nashville and recorded this song, and this is a song that's gonna be coming out, Road Dog, and I recorded that with my buddy Pat, and he plays for this guy named Coulter Wall, who's doing great in country music. And then,
I think I've heard the deep sounding.
yeah, very deep sounding voice. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Coulter. And so the drummer who played on it is a guy named Maddie Myers. He plays for a chick named Sierra Farrell, and she just swept the Grammys for every nomination she was in. So Americana, like Artist of the Year, Album of the Year, 4
Yeah.
Grammys. And then the dude who played bass on it, that was the first time I ever met him, and I still don't really know him, but he plays for a guy named Sam Barber, who does really well in country music. And so, I went up there and recorded it and worked with a lot of good people. And we're releasing that. That's coming out in a month, the song and the music video. So that hopefully will keep everything, going, and it'll keep things busy. And then we're just booking shows, slamming as many festivals as we can get.
Okay.
It's hard navigating everything because you got 4 different people's lives and schedules, but I'm pretty good about keeping everything organized. We like Google Doc everything, available dates, unavailable.
So y'all have y'all's system.
We have a system. Yeah, we have a system.
So that's one thing that I have noticed for most successful enterprises, period, whether it's music, whatever, is the systems, right?
That's it. It's a system, dude. I very much so believe in the system. It's like it hasn't failed me, and some of my friends who play music very casually they make fun of me, and they're like, dude, I would never want to play music with you. And I'm like, this is like my baby, bro. It's like inviting you in to care for my child. And so, I'm going to take care of my child the way that I feel is best for my child, and this is my baby.
But it's stewarding the good gift that you have as well, right? Like you're a gifted individual. If you're telling me you're one of the few geniuses that got to go to London and England, like that's an amazing feat in itself to have the mental
prior geniuses.
No longer. Now you're a snowhead, right? Like you're trying to get it all together.
Yeah, no longer in that headspace.
But even not having that headspace though, and knowing that that's where you anchored in and you have the ability to tap into, like there's some greatness inside of you that you can still tap into. That's why I was asking, would you ever finish up your degree? Did you ever, the next few months, what does that feel like? What are you just starting touring dates here soon?
Yeah, I gotta go to West Virginia and back in like 4.5 weeks.
Okay.
I'll be there. I'm going up there. Going to play some shows on the way up, and then I'll be in West Virginia for 3 days. I'm going to basically like a guitar retreat with this guy Jake Eddy. He's like this real well-known bluegrass picker, and so I'll be with him for 3 days. He's going to be helping me learn some stuff with guitar. I just like, my band is so good, I feel bad that they have to play with me. And so I was like, I'm going to
come up. You need to come up.
I got to step it up, dude.
Yeah.
Parker's really like, he's so good that he makes me want to be better.
And so I literally speak to this more often than I don't, like your vibe in your tribe and like having your circle.
Yeah.
If you have 5 people, you can make the fist, right?
Yeah.
And it's a legit saying, like, if you show me your circle, I can show you your growth.
Yeah.
Because you usually have someone you're chasing in your circle.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, you do.
Yeah.
And those people that you're chasing, it's kind of like you see them and they're like, man, they got that piece figured out. I want to figure it out. Meanwhile, they're looking at you thinking, man, they got that piece. Yeah. And that's what the circle's about, right? Like, you just give your bread to whenever they need to eat, man.
That's it.
And the fact that y'all have that rhythm already, and y'all are pretty much in the infancy of your band development, right? Because how long have y'all been together?
Total now, as all 4 of us, I don't know. Not super long though. I don't know. That's a good question. I wonder when.
So
Parker,
that's fun.
I might be able to figure out, because I might have messaged Parker and been like, whenever. I wonder, dude. That's a good question. That really makes me think. Like, I wonder when Parker joined.
Because that was the culminating piece.
That was it.
To make, because that made everything for y'all, right?
Yeah. And I never thought about that actually until then. Okay, so yeah, I'm getting close, because Parker's not a big texter. So
neither am I, man. So
yeah.
I feel you, Parker. I feel you. You're in my wheelhouse on that one.
Yeah. So this is May 24th. I sent this message.
Of when?
Of last year. So
wow.
It's been a little while. Yeah. Okay. Let me see.
So May of 24.
May of 24 was the first time I contacted him, and then he came like 2 weeks later. So basically June. We'll call it June.
So, bro, you haven't even hit a full turn on 12 months.
No,
and
not
y'all
with Parker,
have, and y'all have this feeling that everything's starting to bubble at the surface. I mean, we were talking about it. Like, you feel like greatness is right here, like at the edge of something.
Yeah, we're about to play. In at the Coliseum for the Crawfish Music Festival. Open up for like Hinder, Puddle of Mud.
That's this weekend.
That's no. April 26th.
April. That's right. Whew,
No, I would be freaking out right now. I gotta get ready. Yeah, no.
So y'all heard it. He's gonna be at the Crawfish Festival at the Coliseum.
Yeah.
You'll be able to see this young man like in person, and you see he's just a normal guy that just feels the heart.
Super normal guy.
Like the soul of what he feels, though. Now, you said your wife, right? So you're happily married. How long y'all been married, man?
Married as fuck.
Yeah, no. How long y'all been married?
We've been married 6 years.
6 years.
Yeah, it'll be 7 in September.
And what is she involved in your music stuff or your artistic stuff, or is it kind of like y'all live a nice, quiet? Just
no, she's very supportive.
Okay.
You know, she's not musical. She is artistic, but she's not musical, and so sometimes the music stuff, like, it's just me talking about, you know, what I enjoy. Just like there's certain things that she does. You know, she likes aesthetics. Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about that, dude. I would wash my face with the same bar of soap I washed my ass with.
And most dudes do, right? Or they have their body water. It's a guy thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing that.
But she's passionate. I'm passionate.
There it is, the complement of the fire, right?
Yeah.
Like, as long as y'all are synergistic in movement and moving together, it feels amazing, right? Yeah. So that's an amazing thing. And now your bandmates. Now you said you have the story, the strategy, the scheduling. Mm-hmm. Their thing is to ride this thing out with you and you know, stamp the table and say, hey, this is who we are, and we're coming, right? At some point, whenever you were collectively getting together, was there ever anybody that you had to switch out? The reason why I asked that is because there's always some conflict in the beginning that you hear about, right? Yeah. And I always find that it's not something that happens because of the talent. I always find it's because of conflict and resolution and personality. And you were telling me, like, hey, you don't want people to be inside you're holding your baby, basically. So that was a lesson learned because you're smirking. It was a lesson learned because you're smirking. I'm not trying to air your business. But I get it, because whenever, again, tribe and vibe, whenever it gets to you becoming the centerpiece to help out everybody, if they don't bring nothing to the table, I feel that. So we don't even have to tap on that one then.
It was messy, but one person.
That's
Thankfully, it was only one, though.
But that's all right. But that was a growth opportunity.
That's it. It's growth. It's always growth.
Okay.
It's always growth.
Always. So what's the next, we'll say, what does the perfect picture feel like for you? Have you thought about that? Like, have you thought what would be the essence of the culmination of all this for you and your family? And I call your family the band.
Yeah.
Your family, your circle.
So, like, life. For me, it's just being able to, you know, I've about little more so than halfway been able to quit working because of this. Okay. And so, I would like for everyone in my band to not have to worry about anything, like, so that we can just go out. We can go out and do this music, and this is all we do, and we're happy doing this, because everyone in my band, like, music's their thing, you know, that we want to do music. And so I think it looks a lot like that. You know, I love traveling. I love being out on the road, so I'd love to go do, you know, more and more bigger places and further out and just keep going and pushing. But yeah, it's just that I want them to know that I got them, you know, at the end of the day. And so that's why, like, when we book these shows and stuff like that, a lot of times there's people who reach out and they're like, hey, I want to book you solo, or I want to book, like, you know, 2 of y'all. And I try and push for the full band for everything. Like, I want, you know, this is how they're making money, and this is how they're having fun and living out, you know, their dream. Yeah. And so it's just, that's what it looks like for me, man. Everyone to be able to eat, we'll all be together, and just, we ain't got nothing to worry about.
That's what's up, man. Yeah. And that means more, I'm sure, to them than you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe so.
Because you saying it out loud says that it's somewhere rattling around your head and your heart.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not just I'm going to placate an idea, but once you say it, and you know this, brain guy, the neurosynapse of everything starts to matriculate,
Yeah.
and then the spider webs of what we have as neurons start to tie into the brain power. Like, that's the science of it, and that's my medical brain coming out just a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel like I will say that your diagnosis, right? Have you felt it as a heavy weight that you've had to carry differently, or do you feel it as a blessing in this time in your life?
Both, really, because I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing like so hard and full-fledged, because I kind of was like, hey, if I'm gonna do this, I need to do it now, because I don't know what this all looks like.
Okay.
And then it is hard to deal with, so a little bit of both, but I try to use the positive side of it more so than the negative.
Right.
I feel like I deal with the negative a little more internally and let the positive be like,
just be on the outside. Right.
Yeah.
All right, bro. So I'm gonna be a fan right now, and I'm gonna ask you, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I want to grace everybody with an opportunity to hear, one, his voice is soulful, but two, he has a talent, and I love to highlight it. And here on Truck Talks, I always try to find an opportunity to showcase exactly who you are.
Yeah.
And everybody who sat in that chair has had an opportunity to speak their heart, and I know your heart is literally speaking in music, so I'd love to give you that opportunity if you don't mind.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
right, and I know this is going to be a little different because we're going to try to do this in the cabin of the truck, but here we go. Let's see what this feels like, guys.
Yeah. So I'll play a little bit of the song that I've coming out. I won't give the whole thing away, but I'll give just enough for you to understand what I'm talking about. But so I wrote this song, Road Dog. This actually came from an idea. I don't know if you know who Co Wetzel is, but Co Wetzel, he's a country music singer. He's kind of, I guess he's big nowadays, but he's big to me, that's for sure, and he sells out shows, so he's doing great. And I say that because like when people say a big country singer, they might think like George Strait, and he's not. He's not there yet, but he is a big country singer. And he got asked in an interview how he felt about TikTok. And he basically responded, he was like, I don't like it. He's like, it's to him and to me, I can understand. I see both sides of it. The internet kind of hurt and helped music. It hurt because you don't see as many people having to go out and play shows and like grind it out, because people are able to make more successes on the internet. But at the same time, it's cool that they're able to share what they're doing on the internet. I see both sides. And he said this phrase that said, "What happened to all the road dogs? Like, where are all the road dogs at?" And like that's how I love going out and playing shows. I love traveling across states and playing shows.
Because you like that energy, right?
Yeah, I just got back from Pennsylvania like a month and a half ago from playing a show. And so that's just where my heart in it lies. I love traveling and I love music. So for me, this is the best way to put both together. And so I wrote the song, and I originally wanted to try and pitch it to Co to sing, but the message was too much with me, and
so you held on
to it. I couldn't let it go.
All right, well, let's get a couple of see what this sounds like.
Looking over to your side, a window down at 45, and I can't help but sit inside at the sight of what I want. I look away cause I can't take the face you make when we gotta break, cause I feel the same damn ache, I get it all too well. My home is on this road, and no four walls could bear the load of this tail slapping on them posts, so I'm docking locked away. This dog don't wanna be kenneled up, I'm so close I can touch the dream that's on the run. This life is taking me through the mud, it's heading where I want, so I'm following the blood. I'm a road dog.
I appreciate that, brother. Like that was amazing, man, and it came out so natural. Like you didn't even have to jump around and let me fix it. Like it was just like, boop.
Yeah. I love that.
You have a talent, brother, and you have a gift, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit with you for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I know it was kind of a weird scenario because I literally just put on the internet like, hey, anybody know any musicians? Because I haven't interviewed a musician. I'm sure there's musicians that have sat in that seat, but they haven't spoke from a musician point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm so appreciative to sit in the circle with you finally.
I'm appreciative.
Like, man, this was good and fruitful. I really did appreciate it, man. And keep doing what you're doing because it's not coming from a space like you want to be famous TikTok-wise. You're coming from a space like something happened in your life and you want to show life that there's more to it. And I could see it in the message. I could see it in the way you move, the way you sing, right? And the people that you involve in your circle, you can hear that you want them to just come up, like all boats rise with the rising tide.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So it's going to be something special whenever the mark is hit because I think you've already hit it. I just think people need to see it. So if you're looking for an entertaining opportunity to sit with Jared and his band and live in a moment where he's given his heart, go check him out at the Coliseum on the 26th of April.
April 26th.
He's going to be opening for
Hinder, Puddle of Mud, Marcy Playground, Cowboy Mouth.
So you're going to have a fun-filled evening.
Yeah.
If that's your vibe, go find your tribe. And here's a dude who can probably give you some influential, heartfelt music, man. And Jared, thank you for sitting with me in Space and Grace. Thanks for giving me your heart and giving me a little bit of your story. This is going to be one of those moments, I hope, that catalysts something special inside everything for y'all. And I pray that things happen in a way that you weren't expecting, that greatness finds its way in your life better than what it is doing right now.
I appreciate it. I need it.
It's coming, man. It's coming, man. Brother, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.
Jesse Truck Talks. Stay tuned for another episode. Jared Daws, thanks for giving us your heart.
Thank you, buddy.